transform itself into a digital platform. That's where the challenge with respect to penetration of the digital into the country comes as a bigger challenge. Now, Industry 4.0, what is that we are looking at Industry 4.0? The Internet of Things, the Internet of Services, then we have the smart factory coming in, and in fact, the earlier speaker was speaking about the Internet of People. So everything is through digitization, interactions through digitization, people management is going to be on the digital space, and accordingly, the transformation with respect to business is going to be fast. In fact, if you look at out of all the industry revolution that has happened, manufacturing revolutions that has happened in the past, your Industry 4.0 will catch up fast, and it will get outdated also fast. Because that form of transformation in the digital space, and today everybody is acquainted with the digital platform, and everybody is connected in the smartphone, and the penetration of information is quick, and the technological advancements also will be on the quicker environment. So accordingly, to make Industry 4.0 a reality, what is the role of HR? The role of the HR is not going to be going forward processing your payroll records. I was a statutory auditor earlier in my early days of articleship, when I was doing my articleship in Big Four, where I used to go, the first person to go and fight used to be the HR. Please give me the records of the joiners and the leavers, and then give me the records of the control you have exhibited in the HR process. That's not going to be the future of the HR role. The future of the HR role are primarily into the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are, first pillar is your HR planning. Now, how do you plan the HR? So, now the challenges for the HR is, there is going to be the industry leaders who are going to come back and say, this is my automation, this is a percentage of automation in my industry, this is the requirement of the skill, these are the scale of requirement of the skill, please recruit and give me. Now, how do you do that? That's where your HR planning comes as a important role. Now, from the perspective of getting educated as HR, if you, for example, many people would have done your MSW or MBA in HR as before you even become a HR professional, you would have done this course. Now, there, do you have a orientation towards HR planning is a question mark. Again, HR itself has to equip themselves with respect to HR planning. This is the first pillar. Second, design for inputs. When I talk about design for inputs, today the procurement function, the process function is everything is traditional. The way you look at from the recruitment perspective is traditional. The way that is going to get transformed is inclusive of technology going forward. Then upgrading your technology as an HR is very, very important. Even before the skill population knows about the technology, it is very, very important that as an HR professional, we need to know about the Industry 4.0 in detail. How the Industry 4.0 is going to impact my entire supply chain is very, very important, the value chain. Because ultimately any manufacturing industry or any industry works on the platform of value chain or a supply chain. How the impact is going to be in the supply chain is very, very important. The HRs has to understand about the design of inputs and design for virtualization and then design for intervention. Going forward, the skill set that is required in the industry, what could be is the skill set for intervention, the problem solving skill, the critical thinking, the creativity. Those are the quotient which you need to look into the manpower while you are recruiting. So I would say CHROMA has done a wonderful job of organizing this Industry 4.0 debate. I would say, in my experience, based on my understanding, this is the first time that's been conducted in the South India. I think they're very, very proactive. They're very, very proactive. It's starting up. This wave is starting up. Believe me, I was in World Economic Forum, one of the meetings. I was discussing the sidelines to one of the chief of the World Economic Forum who is involved in this research of Industry 4.0 and who is advocating about it. This all started in Germany, where this 4.0 was brought in an advocacy to the government, and now all the countries are moving towards this in a fast-track manner. Now in India, because whatever happens globally, we catch up that, and India is not going to be an exception because MNCs are here and all the industry people are looking at making their product global. So Industry 4.0 is a reality. It's not going to be a myth. It's not a dream. It's already a reality. Take it from me. There was a client who who signed an MOU with the government of Tamil Nadu before 3 years, and now he established factory recently. Now, at that point of time when they actually signed the MOU, the project plan said that they will recruit so many people, the employment generation will be so much, the freshers are going to be so much, and now after 3 years, they've established a factory. Take it from me, the employment opportunity what they have provided is only 50% lesser of what they have projected. You know what is the reason? The technology what they have implemented in the particular FMCG company is completely automated. completely automated, smart technology, smart factory. In the factory floor, where it was supposed to be 100, it is now only 20 people who are working on the factory floor. As we go on to understand the automation, the things are going to change, the view the government is holding on the industry is going to change, because many people came to India in search of the skill. They established factories in India in search of the skill. Are you equipping the skill is very, very important. The role of the HR is multifold, and we need to reach out to the education institution and then train them. The reason is, as per the report published by the World Economic Forum, about 1/3 of the existing skills, whatever the skills they have today, 1/3 of the workers, those people are expected to have the skills that don't exist right now. Primarily involving smart factory, primarily involving smart interventions and smart technology, smart innovation. These are the required skills going forward. These skills presently don't exist in the industry. This has to be built in. And the top skills, which as per my understanding with the various interaction with the industry leaders and the global leaders, the top skills which the HR should look at going forward in another 3 years, or rather which the HR should tap from the students or the people who are entering the workforce are complex problem solving skill. While we're interviewing the candidates, the most important thing that we have to look at is the complex problem of solving skill, not their marks, which anyway is not relevant. Somebody gets a gold medal or a CGPA in the you know what is happening in the education industry. That's not that relevant. What is very important is your test should be in such a way that it should test their complex problem solving skill. 2, critical thinking. 3rd is your creativity. And fourth important thing is the people management. Very, very important, because whomever you are going to recruit is a very important resource who has to interact with the technology as well as with the people. So he is a very important resource. And coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, very important, judgment and decision making, service orientation and negotiation, and cognitive flexibility. These are the things that actually will be the skills that will be required to be looked at by the HRs going forward. With this perspective, I'll close the opening note. Probably Robert will take up the session. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Manoj, you want to go ahead?
So good afternoon all. Thank you very much to CHROMA for providing me an opportunity and putting my perspective. I am an operations guy. I am trying to touch upon a very critical aspect, which is a human aspect around this Industry 4.0. Because ultimately everything, whatever we are doing it for the betterment of the life of the people. Okay, so and that is what has to be a center point and the focus point as far as the Industry 4.0 is concerned. We all know that the 21st century is an era of globalization. What does it mean? Means any kind of a product is available everywhere at an affordable prices. So the quality is not a concern as of now, that whatever is being manufactured into any other country is also good enough getting manufactured in every other country is available. So this is what it is making, is that it is making the consumers more demanding in terms of the quality and in terms of the cost affordability. And how is it possible? Because if we are having some kind of if my cost of productivity is higher, it is going to be really difficult. And this is what Industry 4.0 actually has done, or I can say the automation to an extent has done to bring that cost down. However, it has been often misunderstood that when there is an automation, it will bring a job cut. However, there are many studies available either across the Harvard Business School and everywhere else that suggests that it is not actually cutting the job, it is actually increasing the wages. What does it mean? It means that it is actually allowing the people to upgrade their skill in terms of delivering towards the automation side of it. In many of the companies you may find in a production side, as my friend and my colleague also has said, that the 50% job cut was there in a production side when the company has put it in India compared to the whatever they have proposed. But what has happened is that the remaining 50% job has not been cut. It has been cut from the production side, but they have got added into a value-added services which might be there in the logistic, which might be there in terms of the providing the automation back into the system. In today's business, for any business, because I read it somewhere long back and I still remember that as a tagline, that ultimately the business results must result. So what does it mean? That the business has to be there for the profitable growth. So the improvement in productivity, quality, and cost delivery of the product is must in a sustainable manner. Today's the business environment is dynamic, and it is relevant to have the continuous improvement cycle into the system, so that you can always innovating your product, and that making it more relevant, more affordable for the consumer who is there. If we understood that automation is a key to the success of an organization to be more affordable, we need to study the effect of the automation into the human behavior in detail. So there is a main question is that whether this automation is affecting our life. How can we see that? Today the employees are being seen as an investment or a key resources into the organization, and they are very closely linked with the automation. But most of them are trained into the work into a non-automated environment. That is particularly the situation in India. So the need today is that how they get benefited from the automation. And here comes the challenge which is there for the HR to make, that the automation and the skill enhancement of the people to be made in. Because once the processes are more automated, there are less workers which are needed for the production of the same kind of a production. And here is the education which is more important. Automation also mean migration of actual meaning of the production, like the laborious work which we were doing ultimately are being done by the machines now. But what it means is that it has gone towards a side of maintaining those machines, operating those machines, and continually improving those machines. So this is what the automation is all about. So the job has been upgraded to the skill which is even higher in nature compared to what it was earlier. However, so with this, if this is the reality, and if the skill, what I am talking about, if the skill has to be improved for the people, so what is the precise role which the HR will have to play? HR has to play, in my opinion, 4 very critical roles. One is becoming partner in the business processes and helping the senior line manager in terms of strategy execution. What is happening is that the HR role as of now is coming, as my friend also said, it is coming onto the compensation and the recruitment part of it. However, they have to become a strategy partner to understand that what is needed, what kind of skills are required, and it is not only means the common kind of skills are not required. I can give you an example for my own industry itself, which is a highly automated industry. In that industry itself, within the 119 people, we require actually 20 different kind of skills to be there into the people. So it is a specific requirement which has to be generated, and that's why their partnership in a business process since beginning is very important. They should become the expert in the way the work is organized and executed, delivering administrative efficiency. Administrative efficiency means understanding the skill of the people, understanding the gap which is getting generated, because automation is at a so fast pace, it is happening that the skill which is relevant today is not relevant tomorrow. So the person has to get upgraded tomorrow for that kind of a skill also. Third thing which is very, very important, they have to become a champion for the employees, putting up the requirement of the employees towards the management in a fashion, in a positive manner, so that what is required by the employees, so that they can demonstrate the required kind of a skill into the shop floor. And most importantly is they have to become an ambassador of change for and continuous improvement, because that is what in today, regardless of industry, size, location, whatever we are in, we face 5 critical business challenges, which are: one is the globalization, which actually tells about the limitless boundaries which are there, which has changed the thinking of the business across the globe. Second is the profitability through growth. Earlier, the profitability, as I told you, before the globalization, what was happening is that if a company is providing you an additional service, they were actually demanding the cost for that. Today, with this globalization, all the services are available at an affordable cost. So the only way the business can become profitable is not by increasing your margins, but it is to penetrating into the area where your presence is not there. So that's why it is to be by the growth it has to come. Third thing is the technology. As I already touched upon, that the technology is an ever-changing thing which is happening on an everyday basis. Mobile, Nokia, which was relevant and the most popular brand 2 years before, doesn't exist today. So that's the way it is. Fourth one is an intellectual capital. And that is the most important aspect of it, where the knowledge has become a direct competitive advantage. And the companies which are having highly intellectual people, having a mindset with that who are ready to change and adapt to the newer situation, are going to succeed. And finally, the most important thing is the change, and change, which is the greatest competitive advantage every company will have to look into. Whatever the formats we are seeing today probably may not be there in another 5 years' time. So how can we adapt to those kind of changes, and how can it happen if we are going to instill the creative mindness? So it is not only about the skill, it is also about that the creativity to be built into the mind of the people, so that they are always constantly striving about the change and the positive change within the organization. And I think if the HR is being able to that sum up all these things and able to provide those kind of people, develop those kind of people, and constantly strive towards a change culture, I think that is what is going to be the biggest challenge with this Industry 4.0 is throwing. With this, I thank you all for an opportunity once again. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Manoj. Let me just start with you. You just said you are working in a highly automated environment. What are some of the, or let me put it this way, have you done Industry 4.0 implementations already? Are your machines networked? Do you do predictive maintenance? Do you have an MES in place? What is happening in your own factory?
Yes, sir.
Just try if these are on.
Yes, so as I told you,
yeah, should work.
yeah, as I told you that our factory, we are actually a beverage can manufacturer. So what happens is that most of you actually would have experienced the beverage can. One 250 ml of the beverage can actually weighs 8 gram. And if you see that as a can, as simple, it is like a paper, and you can that just tear it off. But still it has to contain a highly sophisticated product within it. And it was not possible until unless you have a sophisticated processes in each and every step, because it goes through 8 different processes. So we implemented that. So our process is highly automated. So that the machines actually speak to each other. And that is what is the communication. They not only speak to each other in a real-time system, operator who is there onto the machine, who is actually controlling these kind of a machine, also is being able to see that what is happening as far as the machine speed, machine quality is concerned across the globe. That is also available. So where is he standing across the globe, and which is providing a competitive advantage to that particular guy to even look for that.
Mm-hmm. And what were some of the challenges that you faced when you basically put this automation, machine-to-machine communication on the ground, both from, say, an ROI perspective as well as an HR perspective?
Yeah. So from as far as the implementation part of the technology is concerned, because the technology has its own glitches, we can always see on to the day-to-day example as well. In a technology system, what has happened, and particularly in India, where the skills are not to that extent, initially there was a lot of challenges which were there in terms of whereby people wanted to bypass those kind of a system. And that is the first challenge which actually came across to us, whereby because everybody wanted to have a productivity first, and rather than that looking for that what is the actual problem and learning about it. So that was the first challenge. However, what we try to do is that, as I told you, that for a total staff of almost like 120 people, we require 12 different kind of skills which are there. So we try to actually find out the people from those kind of skills, so that they are more tuned towards that what the machine